Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And it's Oscar season, so it's time to make some Oscar picks for the films of 2024. And joining me is the person that I think loves the Oscars more than anybody I've ever met in my life. And I hope you appreciate me saying that. And it is
I
Heath
do.
Lynch.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. I do appreciate that so much. Um, I don't know if it's a badge of honor, but I take it as one because yes, I
well,
absolutely love the Oscars. Uh,
well, and
to
I do
to
certain
to some friends and family's frustration.
yeah. Well, I do certain shows every year, and there's certain people where I'm like, I have to have said person on, and I wouldn't pick anybody else.
Well,
So
thank you.
there
I
you go.
appreciate it. I've been
And
I've been begging behind the scenes on SiftPop and on the writers room for Aaron to let me join you and Alice for the Oscars episode where you recap last year's Oscars for like 3 or 4 years now, and he just won't let me join, and it pisses me off to no end because I'm like, I have so many takes. I care about the Oscars so much.
that show's already 4 hours.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
I'm
gonna
I'm happy
say.
to make it 5.
Oh man, that's a marathon reporting
Yeah.
every year when I do that. Which it'll be, we have some new rules this year, which will be very interesting to do. But you should go
Ooh,
check that out on the Sip Pop Writers Room podcast.
I
But
will.
here, what we are going to do is go through each of the Oscar categories for this year, and we're picking which ones we think should win. Because on this episode, we don't give a crap about what the Academy's actually going to pick. So what
And to
we
be clear,
think,
what we think should win, but still based on the Academy's nominations. I can't
correct.
throw in a wild card and say Sing Sing wins everything.
Or why the F was there no Trent Reznor and Atticus
Oh,
Ross underscore? But if you
I
want,
can't wait to release my own personal Oscars on Oscar weekend. I have so many, I'm going to just say it, better takes than the Academy.
well, next week, 1 week from the release of this episode, will be the annual The Wasteland Reviewer Award. So you could go check
Nice.
that out here. And my picks are very different than the Academy's. So I had so much damn fun with best supporting actor and best actress from this year. And just a quick little sneak peek, my actress nominees, four of them are for horror movies. Um,
I love it. Let me guess. Let me guess. Hold on. Best actress horror, Demi Moore.
yes.
I forget her name from Smile 2.
Yeah, Naomi Scott.
Okay.
Loved her in that so much.
Um, oh, what's the lead's name from Longlegs?
You know what? That would have been a good pick too, but I did not have Micah Monroe on there.
And
One I don't know if you'll get.
from Strange Darling.
Now, you know what? This was such a damn
It was a
year
good year
for
for horror.
horror movies.
Yeah.
One's gotten a lot of Oscar nominations, just not acting wise.
Lily Rose Depp and Nosferatu. Okay.
Most for me too.
Okay.
And
So I'm
then
up
the
to three
last
of
one
them.
was Nell Tiger Free for the first Omen. I thought she was incredible in that.
Oh, okay. That's good.
That one was,
Yeah.
well, that came out in like April. Um,
Yeah.
I have a longer memory than the Academy does when it comes to their nominations. Case in point, Challengers got nothing.
Oh,
Nothing.
dude.
Between that and Sing Sing, just dumb. But we're here to talk about what they actually chose as nominees. So
Yep.
let's get things started with Best Visual Effects. We have Alien Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. Heath, what do you got?
What I want to win, what I think should win.
Yes.
This is actually really close, closer than I think some would realize. And it's between two films. I'm giving it in this instance to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. My other one that I would waver between is that and Dune Part 2. I
Yep.
think these very clearly have the best visual effects throughout. the year. I frankly, I think they're on another tier, even next to the other nominees here. And the other nominees are great. Don't get me wrong. But these two are just elite. I would go Kingdom. And I'm not going to lie, this is maybe even a little bit of a legacy award because if I remember correctly, the original three trilogy films didn't get any of these, which is insane, especially for Dawn and War. It blows my mind that this franchise, since it rebooted with Rise, has not won a visual effects Oscar. These have consistently been the best visual effect films every year they've released, and it's about time it gets its due. I don't think it's going to win, but man,
Dune's gonna win.
Yeah, Dune's going to win. But man, I would pick Planet of the Apes.
I'm not going to be mad that Dune wins.
No, I'm not going to be mad at it.
Like, the effects are incredible in Dune, but I'm going to die on this hill and I will pick any Planet of the Apes movie until one of them wins a goddamn
until one
Oscar.
of them freaking takes home the gold. Yeah. Yep.
So my pick is also Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Like, do I like the visuals of the last two better? Yes, but these look like real apes.
Yes.
Like,
the texture of the fur alone on these apes is better than all the visual effects in most of these other films combined. And I'm not being facetious. I'm not being hyperbolic. It is that damn impressive.
It's just ridiculous.
Let alone when you add like water effects to the fur. Holy shit.
Indeed. So we both have Kingdom and Planet of the Apes for visual effects. And I will be trying to honor everybody's names on the show. And I'm going to do my very best.
Have fun pronouncing these.
Yep. Next up, best film editing. Anora, Sean Baker. Good for him.
Yeah.
Basically does everything on the film. The Brutalist, David Jankso. Conclave, Nick Emerson. Amelia Perez, Juliet Welfling, and Wicked, Myron Kirstein. So, Heath, what do you got for editing?
This is a three-way race for me in this category between Anora, the Brutalist, and Conclave. I am going to go Anora on this one. I think in particular, the overlong 25-minute scene where the second act kicks off and the Russians and their goons break into the house and try to kidnap Vanya, and they snatch up Anora, is a masterwork in comedy. And so much of that is due to the editing and pacing of that scene. And that sets the tone and tempo so that you can properly understand and comprehend and be on the wavelength of the rest of the film from that point forward. If that scene doesn't work, if it comes off as inappropriate or too violent or all these different things, the tone of the whole film is off. And so much of that, beyond the performances, don't get me wrong, Mikey Madison's great, everyone in that scene is great, but the editing is a big part of that. And that's just that one scene. But throughout the rest of the film, I think the editing is exquisite, especially when you get to that final scene in the car. Just so well done. So I'm going to give it to Sean Baker and Anora.
We're on the same page so far because I'm also going Sean Baker for Anora because this is a slick, fast-paced, high energy kind of film. And so much of that has to do with how this is all put together. And I'm rooting for Sean Baker to have a big night for this.
Oh yeah,
because I feel like he really came into his own with this film, and this film blew me away. So you're going to be hearing Sean Baker's name from me later on into this. But let's go to best costume design. We have a complete unknown. Ariane Phillips, Conclave, Lissy Christie, Gladiator 2, Janty Yates and David Crossman, Nosferatu, Linda Muir, and Wicked, Paul Tezewell. So what do you have, Heath?
This one I have pretty definitively as Wicked. I think the variety and the vibrancy of these costumes is outstanding, especially when you really look at like all the different textures and tactile nature of some of these costumes. There's a very distinct difference between all of Glinda's gowns and how flowing and soft they are versus the hard edges of Elphabas cloaks and capes. And that's just in our two leads. There's a lot of background, even like down to the visualization of the school uniform. I really could not commend enough the journey to Emerald City and all the costumes in the background. There's so much going on in that scene, and it goes by in a montage song. One short day in the Emerald City. So you almost don't even know it, but you could just like pause randomly throughout that song, and there's just a million things on screen, and so many of those are just like exquisite costumes. And I can't say enough. The one that stuns me the most is the dress that Glinda wears to the Osdis ball, where it looks like literal living flower petals. It's like this bright, like sun orange and yellow, and it's got like neon pinks to it, and it's gorgeous. It is just one of the most stunning dresses I've ever seen. And I just think, due to the sheer creativity, the vibrancy of the colors, the use of texture and pattern, and all that's going on, and the range of different types of costumes, for me, I'm going Wicked on this one.
This is really tough for me because there's one that I really want to go with because like I just love it so much. And then one that like you made an incredible case for Wicked, and now I'm actually second guessing my pick here. But some of these are just so boring. Like you'll get my love for a complete unknown later, but like
Yeah,
it's just
it
oh, it's a
evokes the period.
1960s.
I'll give it credit. Like
Yes.
that's the 60s. They nailed it. But man, next to everything else on here, it's definitely the odd one out, you know.
I really want you know what, I'm just picking what I think I think she would. Anyway, so I'm gonna pick Nosferatu for this one because
Totally fair.
just the
Yeah.
insane amount of detail that Robert Eggers' whole entire team puts into literally everything, because he
Mm-hmm.
is so obsessive about every single period detail. And like this is like taking period detail to like a whole other level.
Absolutely.
And they did such an amazing job hiding Count Orlok going into this film. And that was so satisfying, like seeing the choice that they made with him, which I'll talk about again in a little bit. But just the costume for him was so very specific, and what they went with, it made so much sense in the context of what the film is. But like, Wicked was amazing too, and
Yeah.
that's like, I think Wicked's gonna win, and I'd be very happy for him to win because there's some incredible work there.
Yeah.
Um, Next up
What
is
out
best.
of curiosity, what would you put? You said you know, a complete unknown doesn't belong here. What would you
Uh,
give to that?
that's a
Because
good
my choices
Dune.
of for yeah, I was gonna say my choices for this category. The other four are exactly on my list, and then I would replace a complete unknown with Dune.
Like it's so very specific and unique,
Yeah.
and like that's such a much more interesting pick than a
Yes.
complete unknown.
Yep.
But you know, the Academy doesn't always do interesting. It plays it
Very
safe a
rarely do they
lot.
do interesting.
Yes. Best makeup and hairstyling. Luckily, not the this year it is not the fat suit award, which it
Yep.
was like what was that 2 years ago, where 3 out of 5 of them were fat suits? Or
Oh, which was the whale last year? That was last year, right?
yeah. Oh, so yeah, it was last year. So the whale and the Batman, because Penguin.
Yep.
I feel like there's one other one, but this one is actually really well. 4 of these are really interesting yet again, and one of these, Amelia Perez, is not. But we have A Different Man. Um, you know what? These are like whole teams. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna read
Just say the
through the.
film. It's fine.
We're gonna do A Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked. So, which one are you picking? That's 100% not Amelia Perez? Because why the hell is this here?
It's
Uh,
it's so frustrating. Again, this could actually go to several.
could
I
have been
don't think
Dune.
Wicked. I don't think Wicked is in the running, but for me, it'd be between A Different Man, Nosferatu, and The Substance.
Yep.
I I almost lean A Different Man just because I think what it's doing in that film is more impactful to the story, and it's also very subtle in the ways that it uses makeup, especially in the transition that you see on Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
I think it's really impressive. I am still overall, though, I'm going to go with the substance. I think just due to the sheer volume of things they had to put together and how good they made so much of it look, from the corrosive hand of Demi Moore
Ugh.
to like getting sucked out of like someone's spine,
Ugh.
um or losing teeth when you're pulling your teeth out. Also, if I had to make one little mini rant, most of the time when we talk about this category, although it's called best makeup and hairstyling, most of the time we just award best makeup.
Yeah.
And hairstyling kind of gets forgotten, which is why something like Wicked is here, because they do have great hair design. So
Yeah.
I do want to say there's a reason Wicked's here, besides the fact also that Alphabet is green. But there's a lot of
I felt
really
like that was the
creative
most
hairstyles.
obvious. Why?
Yeah, there's a lot of really creative hairstyles in the substance too, like evoking the 80s and stuff. So there's
Yes.
just a lot going on here. And then you get to that third act and it's just insane. And you're like, oh no, yeah, I get it. So like, due to the sheer volume of everything going on, I'm going to give it to the substance.
Now, Keith, I mustache you a question.
Yeah, right.
Um, does one film deserve this based purely on the
Dude,
power of a mustache?
I was saying that to some friends the other day. I'm like, for the mustache alone, I'd be okay with Nosferatu winning.
I'm going to pick Nosferatu because just
Nice.
Count Orlok in general, just that character,
Yeah.
especially in the final scene of the film, like what we witness, which, on some level, like, do I really wish to remember what I witnessed? It just the from the mustache to the all the details, like his fingers and
Sure.
everything. And also, speaking of how a lot of this is makeup, the facial hair in this movie is exquisite. As somebody who appreciates some good facial hair, just between like Aaron Taylor Johnson
Absolutely.
and Ralph Ineson, Willem Dafoe. This is one of those kind of movies where I'm just like, I'd fit in here. Oh, I
And
have
and
all the
and you
facial hair
really
to do
can't say
this.
enough about how Bill Skarsgård disappears. Like we talked the other year about how Colin Farrell disappears into the Penguin, but if you look, you're like, okay, I can kind of see it. Like it's there.
See it in his
I
eyes.
I can't see Bill Skarsgård as Nosferatu at all. Like he's just not there, to the point that I didn't look into the casting of it before I saw the film. And so I waited after the credits to see who played it. And I was, shut the front door, get out of here. There's no way that was Bill. Like it blew my mind. And I think that speaks to the power of the
Yep.
makeup and the mustache, so.
And you know what? When they showed his face for the first time, I'm like, is that a giant ass mustache on his face?
Yeah, right.
It's just like, and of course, I don't know about you, Heath, but my wife has sent me endless reels on Instagram of people doing Nosferatu Orlok impressions and everybody having fake mustaches on and
Oh
everything. It's
no.
a cultural phenomenon. Um, this is my personal favorite category. Up next is best cinematography. We have The Brutalist from Lowell Crowley. We have Dune Part Two. Is it Greg or Greg? Greg Fraser.
I don't
Um,
know.
Amelia Perez, Paul Guillaume, and Maria with Ed Lockman. Which, for the record, any Pablo Lorraine film is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, beautiful.
And then Nosferatu, Jaron Bleshke. So, Heath, what do you got?
Nosferatu, baby. Yeah, let's go.
I'm still so mad that he did. At least he got nominated for The Lighthouse. I remember being watching that Oscars back in I guess 2020 for the 2019 Oscars, and just being like, he deserves it. And yeah, I'm also on the same page. I want Jaron Blashke to win this
And I
Oscar.
want to be very clear. If there are other, again, not Amelia Perez, but all these other ones are great.
Yes.
I think Maria is beautiful. I really want to shout out though The Brutalist. So The Brutalist was shot in VistaVision, which has been
Yes.
essentially a dead aspect ratio and camera filming technique for almost 2 decades. I think
Yeah.
the last film was either in the late 90s or early 2000s. And this has a special place in my heart for personal nostalgic reasons. Pardon me while I go into a little diatribe. Every year, my family watches White Christmas. It is an annual tradition. It is my favorite holiday film. It is my favorite musical because of this. It is in my top 100 films of all time. It might even be top 50. I understand I have more attachment to this movie than most people because of that, but it is what it is. But one thing I've always noticed throughout the years is it says at the beginning of White Christmas, the first ever film filmed in VistaVision. It debuted that technology.
Yeah.
And I just remember even going back and looking at that and thinking, wow, this is 19, I think that was 54, maybe 55. It's somewhere in there in the mid 50s. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's just so much more vibrant and lush and colorful than so many other films that were made and produced at that time. The wider screen allowed for so much more creativity with their framing and all these things that really, I think, fit well for a musical of the time, setting up dance choreography and musical numbers. And so I've always had an attachment to VistaVision, but it just never succeeded. And so seeing it resurrected here in The Brutalist to such great success, this film is gorgeous. If Nosferatu wasn't freaking Nosferatu, I'm easily going The Brutalist here. It's that good. But Nosferatu is so good. Like for the like the moonlight filter alone. Oh my God. Or like just the shot of like the moonlight over the city and the shadow of Nosferatu's hands gliding over that German town. I'm just like, this is the most mesmerizing cinematography I've seen in years.
I literally giggled
brilliant
a little bit in the theater at the end when his shadow was creeping through the house at the end, because I'm like,
yeah,
I was just like, it's happening.
Yep.
And it's just so impeccably shot. And like, then Dune's here, which the cinematography in Dune's incredible.
Yeah.
Could easily have been Conclave instead of Emilia Perez. Even like something like like Challengers, which got no nominations.
I would put Challengers above here first. I'm Still Here. You could a solid argument for Nickel Boys. I'm not one that really likes the first person perspective, but that could be here.
That was literally the whole entire thing about it. It was like,
hey, I would even put like Civil War here, before Emilia Perez. There's a lot of films that had great cinematography this year that are just But yeah, we had to give Emilia Perez 13 noms. What am I talking about? I'm an idiot.
Oh yeah, and also Challenger should have been there for editing instead of Emilia Perez too. Ugh. I'm still bitter. Like, you're bitter for Sing Sing. I'm bitter for Challengers. What the hell happened?
It's
A24 and I guess MGM.
A24 crap the bed so hard this year. I understand they wanted to go all in on The Brutalist. They really wanted to win Best Picture. But in today's current studio Hollywood climate, they are a major studio in this. After winning everything with Everything Everywhere All at Once 2 years ago, and the acclaim that film got and the notoriety that gave the studio, like, people look on their calendars for A24 films. Like, they're just as big in my mind as a Warner Brothers. Maybe not financially, but in terms of impact in the film industry, they absolutely are. And so, like, you're telling me you only had the money to back one film? Stop it. You could have championed Challengers. You could have and should have championed Sing Sing. And I'll never forgive A24 for how they handled the campaign this year.
Yeah. Well, moving on to production design. So we have The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. What do you got?
This one's really tough. Again, this is one of the few categories that I think they did a good job. I think this is exactly the five I would nominate. Oh boy.
This is actually really tough.
This is one of those where, like, I'm going to give you an answer now, but if you ask me the same question tomorrow, hell, if you ask me the same question in an hour, I might give you a different answer. I want to be very clear on this. These are all very close. They're all incredibly impressive in their own way. So what I'm about to say does not negate any of the four that I don't pick. I'm personally going to pick Wicked. I think some of the set designs that went into that, when I think of how they made Munchkin Land look, and the rows of the lilies and all the flowers, and the creation of the burning witch effigy, and that's just to open the film, and or like
That's
looking at the
opening
like
scene.
or like the bubble device that Glinda flies in
Yeah.
with, or stuff like that. The design for Shiz University, the design for how I forget the goat professor's name, but like his house that he's shunned away
Yeah.
in, and like him and the other animals like hide in. The look of the the forest that they saved the lion cub, the Ozdus ballroom with like the fish lake above the ceiling. And that's before you even get to Emerald City, and you're like, oh my God, they built this. It's staggering. And I understand that also a lot of these were created using visual effects, but visual effects are still part of production design.
Yep.
Someone had to draw
They
those
drew
out
it first.
yeah,
So
and had to design them. And even still, a lot of the sets in this movie are practical. And I just think it is very distinct. I think it does a great job at capturing different regions, countries, cultures, and people of Oz. And man, for me, it just excels. And again, that's no shade on these other four. They're all excellent.
like it's so tough because the brutalist would make sense because it's literally about architecture.
Architecture. Mm-hmm.
And you would expect it to have incredible production design. And Conclave is just so gorgeous.
Oh,
The whole Vatican and everything. Dune is just so inventive as well, and Nosferatu, just his whole castle and everything. But like you
the
sold me.
Germantown and yeah.
Wicked has so much that
Yes.
it was able to do. And also, quick side
Very
note,
similar to the costume category, where if there's
yeah,
just so much going on that it's like I have to give it to him.
I would have almost given costuming just to Wicked because I want Jeff Goldblum's outfit. Like, I want to wear that. I want a copy. I want a pair of that whole entire suit. But no, this production design is incredible from start to finish. And I think at the end of the day, I think this is winning production design and costuming at the Oscars, and I'm gonna be very happy for Wicked because Wicked's like a feel good
Oh yeah.
kind of film because it's like this isn't the kind of film that you would expect to be sweeping up a lot of Oscars, even though it really should.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and just and also I want some fun to like win
I
out of the
I've
Oscars.
gone on record as the Academy likes to award happy things from time to time. I think that they understand that sometimes it's their quote unquote role to award these serious, dramatic art house, blah, blah, blah. But then you do that for so many years. And sometimes people are just like, especially depending on what's actually happening outside of the world of film, in the world itself,
Super
where you just like,
depressing.
man, we just and I attribute this to why Coda won Best Picture a few years ago, where we had just come out of the pandemic, life kind of sucked for a while, and what was the front runner that year? The Power of the Dog, which a brilliant film, and I love it,
Depressing as
but
hell.
it's not the happiest thing in the world to sit through. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick Coda. I have a feeling people just want to smile because life kind of sucks right now coming out of 2020, and boom, Coda takes the W. Like, so yeah, that just happens. Sometimes it's just fun to have fun, and there's nothing
Yep.
wrong with that.
Next up, Best Sound, A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. Good for The Wild Robot. That makes me
Yeah.
happy. But Heath, what do you got?
Not Amelia Perez. I, I mean, we could do that joke every category. It's ridiculous. How is this
Almost
nominated for
every
best sound?
category.
How
I
is
feel,
this here for best sound over something like Twisters or Furiosa? I just
oh, Heath, don't even get me started on the fact that Furious has absolutely nothing.
Yep.
But
I
anyway,
just it blows my mind. For sound, I'm going to give it to Dune Part Two out of
yeah.
these nominees. Again, I just think this is a terrible slate of nominees for this category. I even like some of these films, but I still don't think they're good fits. I'd rather have Furiosa, Twisters, even a Quiet Place Day One. They're more impressive sound design achievements. But of this slate, yeah, Dune Part Two, and it's pretty handedly Dune Part Two.
They're like, music. three of these, it's like it has music,
Yeah.
so give it sound. But no, you're absolutely right. There's so many like big blockbuster type films that like put so much effort into that. And Dune's the only one that really stands out in that way in this category. Because like there's so many very specific, interesting sounds that they make in this film for all kinds of stuff. Oh, I'm just gonna say this now. I was so pissed when they announced that they weren't going to perform the songs, and then the nominees came out, and then I'm like, you know what? I don't care anymore because I don't want to listen
I
to
have so
these.
much to say on this. Let's hold it till we get to best song. Is that next? Oh,
Yes,
it is next. Then let's
that
go
was
into
my
it now.
segue.
Go into it because I have things to say as well.
This is my least favorite category from this Oscars because this is sad,
Yeah.
just sad. Like one of these is I'm gonna give the win because default because I'm just gonna say it. Well, you know what? I should read the nominees first. We
Oh,
have
real
El
quick, did you
yeah,
say what you are you did you also say Dune Part 2 for best sound?
yes.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, keep going.
We got El Mal for Amelia Perez, The Journey for the 6888. I kept forgetting the numbers that were in the title of that movie, and he kept getting mixed up later. Like a Bird from Sing Sing, Me Camino from Emilia Perez, and Never Too Late from Elton John. Never Too Late. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. I'm giving this to Elton John because he's the only one that I would actually want to see performance at the Oscars if they actually did that. But there's so many other songs that could have been nominated here. But
I
Heath, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go into my little rant now. There are a couple categories that are not darling categories, kind of like you for cinematography. Like these are considered below the line categories. For me, it's best original song and best documentary. We'll get to documentary later, but
Yep.
these are two of, for whatever reason, I couldn't tell you why. I just love these categories. I think they're fun,
Mm.
but I also am contentious towards them because of the Oscars history towards them, specifically with this category, because the Oscars have a real tendency to nominate closing credit songs. It drives me freaking nuts.
Wasn't
Nominate
in the
something that's
movie.
nominate something that's in the movie that has an impact on the movie. And it pisses me off even more this year because we have a musical where they nominated two songs and those songs suck and that movie sucks.
Music
um
in that movie song.
yeah. But again, the thing is, there were other movies this year that had better songs that were part of the movie, and they were just completely overlooked. I hate. I'm not going to say hate. I really don't like most of these nominations.
Mm.
I really don't like seeing Amelia Perez getting two nominations in this category. I don't like Diane Warren getting her upteenth millionth nomination. I just don't care, and it just, to me, it comes across frankly as lazy that the
Yep.
Academy doesn't try to actually like look into this and award songs that are creative, unique, original, or that are challenging songs that actually sound musically interesting. And it just bothers me. Of the options, I'm going Like a Bird from Sing Sing. I think
At least
that,
Sing
and
Sing can get one Oscar.
I would love Sing Sing to win an Oscar. And I think that and the Elton John one are the only ones that even sound good. The other three, I don't even care for. But to your point, yeah, I'm totally fine with them not singing them this year. And if you had asked me before these nominations come out, I would have never said that because I
Yeah.
love the songs traditionally. So I hope they get their act together and someone gets their head out of their ass. And next year they nominate better songs so that we can bring this back. I almost even wonder if they're like, yeah, these are going to be our nominations. No one wants to hear these, so we're just not going to do them. Like,
I do wonder if they
I
they made that
I
decision.
genuinely want, because they made that announcement just a few days before they revealed the nominees, and I had a feeling they knew what was coming, and they're like, no one's going to want to see Mi Camino and El Mal. Like no one's going to
I
want to see
swear El
another
Mal
Diane
only got
Warren song.
nominated was because Zoe Saldana's
Yeah,
physical performance during that scene
yeah.
and not even like the actual song. And that's a problem. And
Real quick to
yeah,
finish my rant, I'm going to just say here's songs that I would nominate all of which are in the actual movie, except for one is in the closing credits, but they still give a video of it. And I'll start with that one first. And that's Harper and Will Go West from Will and
Mm,
Harper, where we actually see Kristen Wiig singing the song through the
yeah.
credits. It's very sweet and it's also very comical and fun. Other songs that are actually in the movie: Kiss the Sky from Wild Robot, Get Lost, like the disco bop from Moana 2, Compress Repress from Challengers. And there is a banger that I would easily have winning this category from Your Monster called My Stranger that Melissa Barrero belts out at that end of that
Mm.
movie. And it is powerful and moving and musically invigorating. And it wasn't even shortlisted. And it drives me insane.
I can guarantee you two people in the Academy watched that movie.
Exactly.
And that's sad.
And that's part of the problem.
Yep. And friend of the show, Davis, will love my thoughts on this because my number one played song on Spotify in 2024 was Electric Energy from Argyle. And
Nice.
I would have loved to see Ariana DeBose, Boy George, and Nile Rodgers get up there and perform that at the Oscars.
Wouldn't that be so much more fun than
So much
anything
more
they
fun.
nominated here? Jesus. And again,
they really
no shade
screwed
to
up
Elton
this.
John. I love Elton John. He's one of our legends of music, but the man's won Oscars multiple times before. And this also isn't even that great of a song for him from him. He is capable of so much more. And I'm just like, what are we doing?
It was a nice song to throw in for his documentary, and that was
Yeah,
about it.
but
So
it's uh,
I
depressing.
have, well, at least next year we'll probably have an original song or two from Wicked for good.
Yeah,
I
because they're gonna
can
need to add
guarantee.
something to make that movie longer.
Yeah. Next up is Best Original Score. We have The Brutalist from Daniel Blumberg, Conclave from Volker Bertelmann, Amelia Perez from Clement Ducal and Camille, Wicked from John Powell and Stephen Schwartz, and The Wild Robot from Chris Bowers. Would you like to play the what other scores could have been there instead of Amelia Perez
Yeah,
game
I'm
first?
gonna pick challengers from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I'm gonna say the Academy's rules are stupid and Hans Zimmer should be here for Dune Part Two.
Also,
I would
how's
take
Wicked here?
I would take John Baptiste's score from Saturday Night over most of these. I just
I I do legitimately have a question.
Yeah,
Why does Wicked's count?
I don't know.
It's from an adapted musical,
Yeah,
and it's using. Yeah. I would also like to throw in that
it
creepy ass
almost
score
feels
from
like they wanted
Hitchcock.
to give a middle finger to Dune and to Denis, and I don't know why.
They're just this. It felt like they consciously made a decision the second they announced Dune Messiah. I'm like, well, sorry, Two Towers. I mean, Dune
Yeah,
Part Two.
it feels
See
that
you
way.
next time.
Yeah, it feels like, oh, they're going to do a third one. Well, we'll just wait till the third one and we can give Messiah all the love and it will just represent the whole trilogy.
So,
And I'm just like, but what if Messiah is not as good?
uh, this is why Lord of the Rings should have won so many more Oscars
So
between the
many.
three of them, but it's the same stupid crap. But whatever. Let's look at the actual nominees. And Heath, who do you think should win?
To me, it's between The Brutalist and Conclave. I think The Brutalist is probably the more traditional orchestral, uh, triumphant score with its big horns and whatnot. But I really love Conclave specifically for how it fits the film. It adds so much tension that really heightens the experience. So, of these options, I would pick Conclave, but I'd be totally fine with The Brutalist winning.
I would honestly be okay with the WoW Robot too, because I did really like that score. Um, I'm gonna go with Conclave also because I distinctly remember sitting in the theater watching this film and just being like, this score's like going hard,
Yeah,
and I love it. And
I had
that
that
was one of
exact same thought. I was like, this is way
yeah.
stronger than it needs to be, but oh my god, does it work? It's so good.
And the Brutalist, like you can't help but remember that score because it's just like a wave, like smashing on you, and also it's the same music from the trailer. That trailer got me too. But no, I'm going with Conclave as well. But yeah, they're like I love the music in Wicked. I don't
Mhm.
understand how this got was
Yeah, I
like
don't get it.
able to be nominated for original score. But
And get out of here
whatevs.
with that Amelia Perez crap in this category. Oh my god.
Eh, whatever. Next up, we got some of the shorts. So we have best animated short. We have Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Magic Candies, Wander to Wonder, and Yuck. Kind of throwing that little emphasis.
Yes.
So, Heath, what do you got?
I was lucky enough to find all five of these on the
Nice.
interwebs. Of them, I would pick Beautiful Men. I think it's a great story, a small little tale about male vulnerability and fragility, but it's told in a sincere and earnest way that doesn't come across like, you know, some right wing fanatic, oh, men have it so tough, kind of way. No, it's sincere and it's moving, but at the same time, it's also very comical. And I
Mm.
just found it also quite entertaining. And to be entertaining while having a sincere message, excuse me, I thought was just quite impressive, especially because this was stop motion animation. And I'm always a sucker for that as well. So yeah, I would pick Beautiful Men out of this bunch.
I'm like, did Charlie Kaufman make this? Um, 'cause I'm like, Anomalisa? I was definitely getting that kind of vibe with that. Um, I do think Beautiful Men is the best film out of all of these. And I agree with that. There's a surprising amount of depth to this
Yes.
film and some interesting complex ways and nuanced ways of looking at masculinity. But I have to give a big shout out to Yuck because
Yeah.
I just like even like the little like storytelling devices of like the lips glowing and like I just enjoyed that
It's
movie
so
so
cute.
much.
It's so much. I also really liked Wander to Wonder a lot. I thought that was a fun stop motion film.
I would give that the award for the weird ass movie of the bunch because that was a very strange
Yeah,
movie.
it is.
Next up we got best live action short film. Um, when I was listening to your podcast, like, is it actually pronounced Alien?
That's the way because the way I saw it on the poster, the letter A was in a parentheses, but there was no space between that and lean. So
Interesting.
so
I'm gonna
I
go with
I thought
that.
it was Alien,
So
and again to go along with the theme of the film and the story, it would make sense to me that that's the way it's pronounced.
yeah, so we have Alien, Anuja, I'm Not a Robot, Last Ranger, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. So what do you got, Heath?
Well, two of these, unfortunately, I have not been able to see just due to, again, internet makes it really hard sometimes to find short films. Of the ones I've seen, which would be Alien, I'm Not a Robot, and The Last Ranger, I would probably give it to I'm Not a Robot. I think it's really creative,
Mm,
very entertaining, very funny, and it also has something to say just about how transactional life can be and how if we don't do things for ourselves and we don't try to break the mold, we just become another cog in the machine.
mhm.
And I think there's something there that's really impressive. You could even make a feature film out of that story. I think I also would have been okay with Alien. I think Alien, especially what's going on, relevant to what's going on with the
Yep.
United States today and the ICE raids and deportations. It's an incredibly relevant film, and it's very powerful and moving. Yeah, but
I'm
I would
also
go with I'm Not a Robot.
I'm also going with I'm Not a Robot. I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
you say because like so not to make less of any of the topics that any of the rest of them tackle. All of them are the rest of them I think are hitting on very like global issues and that are facing a lot of people. I just think I'm Not a Robot is a really interesting film. Really
Yes.
well written and acted and has some shocks and twists along the way. And like it was a very creative film and had me on the edge of my seat. I'm just like, also it's my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
to find out that I'm actually a robot.
Yeah. It's all a simulation. None of it's real.
Like, what is this? I'm just gonna throw out here. This actually was I was able to watch literally every single one of these nominees this year.
Oh, wow.
And and there was a lot of work and collaboration from friend of the show, Rowan Wood, uh,
Yeah.
trying to problem solve finding all of these. But we have the last short group, which is best documentary short film. We have Death by Numbers, I Am Ready Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra. What do you got, Heath?
Um, Again, there's one here I haven't seen, which is Death by Numbers. I have seen the other four. This is a very interesting category this year. To me, it comes down to two, and that's Incident and Instruments of a Beating Heart. I think Incident is the more important story. I think it's more emotionally impactful and more painful, and I don't even think it's close. However, and this is just me, this is no shade on the people that made the film and edited it together, but it's pretty much just a stitched together editing of street cam footage and police cop footage. The documentarians didn't actually go out and film anything. It is just publicly available footage that they just edited together to not even tell a story. It is just to, in timeline order, recreate the events that happened one tragic day. And whether this is fair or not is up to personal interpretation and opinion. But because of that, I'm just like, man, something that actually had a person behind a camera actually went out and filmed these people, that just hits to me more. So for that reason, I'm actually giving it to Instruments of a Beating Heart, which is also AKA known as Whiplash for elementary school kids. And because I mean it's Whiplash for little
Well,
kids
when
trying
you
to
put it that way,
it's Whiplash for kids trying to learn to play the xylophone in the triangle. But like in a not painful Whiplash way. It is so sweet and sincere, um and meaningful. You can see the pain on these kids' faces as they're trying to learn these instruments and the pressure that's on them, but the absolute joy as they figure it out and give their performance. And it's so heartwarming. And man, I really loved it. So Instruments of a Beating Heart is what I'm going to give it to. But Incident, I can't say enough, is tremendous and very, very important.
I will destroy anybody who makes that little girl cry again in Instruments of a Beating Heart. Oh my god, I that hit so damn hard. I'm like, I would do anything for this little girl to protect her from this harsh world that's around her. But like that one hit me really deeply emotionally. And a lot of like I'm Ready Warden and Death by Numbers are both films that are just like, jeez, like in terms of just like the weight of it. But I'm probably going to go with Incident. Like I
Yep.
100% get that they didn't go out and actually film this. I just thought this was such a unique and interesting film compared to the rest
Sure.
of the.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
God did it make me feel so uncomfortable watching this film. And you're just watching and you can't do anything
You
about
can't
it.
do
And you're
anything to
just like,
stop it. It's the most infuriating thing. You just want to like step in and you can't. It's already happened and it's no, and I get that. It's very powerful filmmaking. I don't I don't fault you at all. I think a lot of people would pick Incident, frankly.
I kind of think that it might win.
It has a
Um,
shot for sure.
yeah.
Um,
That's always the interesting things about these short categories because they're always the most, unless you like last year, like Wes Anderson 100% was winning
yeah.
uh, for animated for live action short because there's no chance in hell he wasn't. But most of the time, these are really interesting up in the air
These are the
kind of.
ones that are up in the air, and especially if you're in a group of people that likes to make bets on the Oscars and like make your picks, these are your make or break categories
Yes.
because all the other ones, by the time you get to the Oscars, you've had so many precursors and all these. And to be
Mm.
clear, We're filming this. The only major precursor still left is the SAG
Yep.
after acting awards. But otherwise, everything else is done. So we kind of have a sense of what's going to win all the major categories just based off of what's
Yep.
been winning, where the momentum is, yada, yada. But the short films are always like, you don't know, dude. These could go any way. And like, these can make or break a ballot of trying to win like a betting pool or something.
And just remember, these awards are going home in a Prius. Still one of my favorite jokes by any presenter ever. Just too bad who that presenter was. Um, Going on to best documentary feature film, we have Black Box Diaries, No Other Land, Porcelain War, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and Sugarcane. Heath, what do you got?
Again, so now this is time for my other big rant. I did my original song rant. Best documentary is probably my favorite category. I love documentaries. I still love learning. I love being educated. I think that's an important attribute in our society, that you never feel like you know everything and that you're incapable of being taught something new. That's where individuals fail and fall, and that's where society crumbles. And if I'm being going to be blunt, that's kind of what we're seeing in the world today. And it's really horrifying. So I love documentaries. I love learning about things I didn't know before, learning about new events that I'd never heard of, getting a glimpse into other people's real world experiences. Or maybe it's even about something I already knew about. And maybe
Mm.
it's just reiterating something I already knew and making sure I fully understand it, or a new perspective on a story that I'd heard before. There's so many reasons why documentaries are important, and I never want to see them stop. And I love this category. That being said, the Academy Awards needs to do better about making sure these nominees are available for people to see, especially prior to the Oscars. As of this recording, the only one of these 5 films that's readily available anywhere is Sugarcane. It is on Disney Plus and Hulu. No Other Land doesn't even have American distribution. It is impossible to see unless you sail the 7 seas. Porcelain War
Or
was
you get a
in,
press screening link,
yeah,
like I did.
Porcelain War was in limited theatrical release and not very many cities in theaters. And I don't even think it's there anymore. Black Box Diaries is available on Paramount, but only if you also pay extra to subscribe to Showtime.
Is it really?
Yeah. And Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat is actually available, but on Canopy, and only if you have a library card to your local public library.
I think it's also available for like Kino Lorber, but
It
like
might be.
that's another thing that you
Yeah.
have to pay for.
So all that to say, it's very hard to find a lot of these films. And because of that, I've only seen one. And it
Yep.
really sucks. Um, I'm going to pick No Other Land, having not even seen it, just because I know of the basics of what it's about. And I think that's just such an important story to be told with where we are in the world today, especially when Trump is out here suggesting such asinine things as, oh, we're just going to take over the Gaza Strip and whatever. And I'm like, what are we doing? I think No Other Land should win for that reason alone, even though I haven't seen it. And I hope to God it gets US distribution at some point and I get a chance to see it. Because as of right now, the only film I've seen is Sugarcane. And to be clear, Sugarcane is actually a great film. I really liked it. Um, Maybe not liked. It's not like I was entertained by it. It's a very painful film, but
Well,
it's a very good film.
I'm gonna
And
make a point about that. Um, I just wish that the Academy would acknowledge that there's great films that are not also about super depressing things too.
yeah,
Because like there's great films about like the fact that like Won't You Be My Neighbor,
yeah,
like that didn't get nominated, or something like um Three Identical Strangers. Like interesting films like that aren't getting nominated because like to be frank, this is about rape, the situation in the Middle East, Ukraine, um, civil rights movement rebellion and treatment of Native Americans. And it's just like this is like the
And
most depressing
treatment of
thing.
Native Americans is putting it mildly. It's the murder and genocide of Native
Correct.
American youth. It's
Yes.
it's not pleasant.
No. And so like the least heavy of this is soundtrack to a coup d'etat.
Yeah,
And just listen to the title. I just would like because like there's so many great films out there that are about like music and stuff like that. That's just like these things aren't going to get acknowledged by the Academy unless you're depressed and you hang out with an octopus. I am going to continue and take jabs at you, my octopus teacher. But my pick honestly is Sugarcane. Like that movie just hit me so hard, which also like all of these did, to be honest. But like no other lands are very close. Like like one B right up there too.
sure.
Um, international film.
Oh, real quick,
Yep.
because I didn't get to see any of these other than Sugarcane, I really quickly want to shout out a couple documentaries that I think are worth people's time. There's a documentary on Netflix called Daughters, which is a very profound and
Yes.
moving, that is simultaneously sad but also uplifting film
Yes.
about our prison system, but how there are programs in which some of these incarcerated fathers can have a dance with their like 4-year-old daughters, and it's just the if it doesn't make you cry, I don't know what would. I was melting. Speaking of uplifting things, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story,
That
which
should have been nominated.
it
Like
absolutely should have been nominated, and it won at the BAFTAs, I think, just last weekend. Um, it's a tremendous film about Christopher Reeve, his journey, how he took on the role of Superman, and how it went on to define him, and he didn't let that like torture him and his psyche by only being defined by one role, and how he went on to just do great things even after his tragic accident. And then my favorite documentary of the year, another Netflix one, The Remarkable Life of Evelyn,
yeah.
which also made me bawl my eyes out, is one of the most visually creative documentaries I've ever seen in my entire life, in how it expresses something that is universal, but we often forget, which is our life impacts so many people that sometimes we don't even think about or know about how far our reach goes. And we are capable of bringing so much life, joy, laughter, and happiness to this world. And we should never forget that. And man, Remarkable Life of Evelyn, that's like a top 15, maybe even top 10 movie of the year for me, of all movies from 2024. I thought it was magical.
That hit. Like that was such an emotional experience.
Yep.
I'm just gonna throw out a couple like and this is what I'm talking about in terms of like some other types of documentaries. Made in England, that documentary about Powell and Pressburger
Yeah.
that basically it was like and this is gonna sound silly, but it was like grandpa time at the movies with Martin Scorsese just like walking you through their whole entire filmography. I loved Steve Martin, a documentary in two pieces. Like I thought that was a really interesting presentation of his career and like that actually hit in such an interesting way. Chasing Amy, I thought
I
was
still
a
want to see
really
that. Yeah.
that was a really interesting documentary too. And um this isn't helping my case. Not wanting more depressing potential things, but Patrice, the movie, which I'm glad that Patrice was one of the only other people that I saw watch this documentary from SiftPop. That it was also a really creative one. That was nominated for Independent Spirit Award, which is why I wound up seeing it. So yeah, make these accessible if you want people to see them.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Best International Film. And I'm really hoping the tide has turned on this one because Emilia Perez from France,
Ugh.
because this should say it all from France in Spanish. That should really tell you about this film. Flo from Latvia, The Girl with the Needle from Denmark, I'm Still Here from Brazil, and the seed of the sacred fig from Germany, but in Persian, because there's no way in hell that Iran was going to let them make this movie.
Yeah, right.
Heath, what do you got?
I haven't seen The Girl with the Needle nor The Seed of the Sacred Fig, unfortunately. Although I've heard great things about both of those. I've also heard very painful things about both of those. So I'm not
I
really
know the girl with the needles on movie
it
now.
is on
So
movie,
yeah,
and Seed of the
that's
Sacred Fig just came out to video on demand last week. It just haven't
oh,
gotten
nice.
around to it. Not really like jumping at the bit to watch that, just because I know what it's about. So
It's
that being said,
intense.
I've seen Amelia Perez, Flo, and I'm Still Here. Of those, I am picking I'm Still Here. But I'd also be really happy with Flo. If Latvia could pull out the W here and take home the gold, that'd just be the coolest thing in the world. But I am gonna go with I'm Still Here. A very powerful, moving film, excellently performed, and again, just due to the world's political climate and where certain things are shifting, it's an important and relevant film.
Yeah,
Um, and God, I hope it kicks the shit out of Amelia Perez at the Oscars in this category.
that Amelia Perez better not win this. I'm gonna be so upset.
I will be.
I'm rooting
I
for
will
I'm Still Here
be
because
mad.
I feel like that's the only one that has a chance because they're both Best Picture nominees.
Yeah,
But I'm going Flo.
nice.
I I don't think I felt more stressed out watching a movie this year than hoping that nothing bad happened to that poor cat.
Yeah, right. And
And
so
like
many bad things almost happened to that cat, and I'm just like, no, leave the
I
cat alone.
I was by myself in the theater watching this, and I'm just sitting there like, no. Like I just kept thinking, like, and I have a black cat at home. All I was thinking of was my cat at home, just like, "Mm, this
I
poor
can't
cat."
handle it.
Which also like so the score went really hard in this movie
Oh yeah,
and the animation and the creativity of it and the fact that they made this work without saying a single word. But the seed of the sacred fig is like really close second for me for that one. That was a intense film. Um, but this is I'm so happy about this category. Best animated feature because we got Flow, we got Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. So, Heath, what do you have?
these are exactly the 5 films I would nominate for this category this year. So good on you, Academy. You got another category right.
Yeah.
And honestly, there are several that I would love to see win here. Um, I would just be tickled pink if Vengeance Most Foul somehow
Yes.
found a way to win this. It's not going to happen, but oh my
Did that
god,
win the BAFTA?
yeah, it did. I mean, it's
Well,
British royalty, of
yeah,
course. Wallace and Gromit's going
that
to win.
felt like a dumb question, but I wanted to
Aardman
confirm.
Productions are always going to win at the BAFTAs.
I don't know. I thought Ray Fiennes was going to win at the BAFTAs, but then Adrian Brody won. I'm like,
Yeah, that's true.
you
Um,
betrayed your own.
so as much as like I would love to say Vengeance Most Foul here, and I really, really want to. I'm gonna say Flo. This is where I give Flo the W. Man, that cat, I don't know what to say. Like the movie is so creative and fun, and the fact that I was riveted, just fully
Mhm.
engrossed and captivated, and without a single line of dialogue. And
Like an hour and
I can
20
count on
minutes
one
too.
hand how many films have ever done that with me in my life. So, like, yeah, I'm gonna give it to Flo.
This is so hard
It really
because
is.
like two of these, like for my own personal ranking, two of these are like in my top 10 of 2024. And one of these is like almost the top for 2025 so far, because Vengeance Most
Yeah,
Foul didn't come out here
it's a
until
2025 movie. Yeah,
yeah. My God. I'm gonna do it. That damn penguin. That
yeah.
dastardly penguin.
Feathers McGraw.
It's a cute nun. Like, no, it isn't. Just this felt like such an amazing return to form. Like, I have a friend of mine who's super in animation. He had a whole YouTube channel just for animation. And we were having this conversation that Curse of the Were Rabbit, which I love, is like Americanized version of Wallace and Gromit because of DreamWorks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And this felt like the purest form of like going back to like Wallace and Gromit. And I just had and like the whole Mission Impossible Fallout and sorry, um Dead is it Dead Reckoning Part One still, or they just Dead Reckoning
No,
now?
it's just Dead Reckoning. And they've changed the next one to be Final Reckoning. It's not
I did
Dead
know
Reckoning Part
that.
2.
So yeah, this had the whole ending basically of Dead Reckoning, except for the
Yep.
and it just the action's incredible, the humor. I just love this to pieces. This is one of the most charming things I've watched in a very long time. Oh, well, now we're up to writing. Not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed with the best adapted screenplay ones, but here we go. We have A Complete Unknown from James Mangold and Jay Cox. We have Conclave from Peter Strohan, Amelia Perez from Jacques Audiard, in collaboration with Thomas Bedigan, Leah Macias, and Nicholas Levecki. Nickel Boys from Ramel Ross and Jocelyn Barnes, and Sing Sing from Greg Quedar and Clint Bentley. So, what do you got?
Man, here's the thing. I would love to give it to Sing Sing just because, again, Sing Sing was my favorite film of the year. It wasn't even close for me. I thought this was a masterpiece. But a lot of the beauty in Sing Sing comes in the smaller moments. And I think there was also a lot of improvisation in that
Yeah.
film and some of those group scenes and acting moments. And I don't know how much I want to attribute that to the script. I don't want to give it to Nickel Boys, and this may not be fair, but again, the way they chose to film it in that first person view really negatively impacts for me that experience. I know I'm in the minority there, and most people love it, and that's great. And I know it's an important story, and I don't disagree in the slightest. It's very important, but I can't give it to Nickel Boys for that reason. Amelia Perez, whatever. Um,
How?
yeah,
Like,
how is this even
how?
here? Um, so to me, it comes down to Conclave and A Complete Unknown. And I wonder how much of the small moments of A Complete Unknown are actually from the book, and how much is it just like they're singing songs? And like,
Well, I don't even think and like that's my number one film of the year. I don't think it's the writing that
yeah,
made this the best, like my number one film of the year. Like, honestly, I default, I feel like it has to be Conclave,
yeah,
which
and that's
also
kind of what
it's
I'm getting at is I think it should be Dune Part Two. Um,
yes, 100% yes.
I don't again, it just feels like they had it out for Dune this year. I don't know how Dune Part Two is better than Dune, and Dune got more nominations than this did. It blows my mind. Um, Dune Part Two is spectacular. It easily should be here for adapted screenplay. That so much of that film's success is in the screenplay and how
Yep.
Denis Villeneuve chose to go about it. I'm going to give it to Conclave though, based on the available options.
Yep. I think this is an easy pick for Conclave at this point, which is a really good film.
Yeah,
And like I feel bad kind of being like, well, you win by default. But honestly, it really should have been Dune.
yeah,
And also, this is a kind of weak year for
yeah.
adapted screenplays. Um, and then we have best original screenplay. So we have Honora from Sean
Which is
Baker.
much stronger, by the way. Much better category.
Yes. It usually is. The original screenplay
Yeah.
usually has a lot of interesting choices. This is honestly one of the most interesting Oscars because this is where they actually get creative. Honora from Sean Baker, The Brutalist from Brady. I've heard half people say Corbet, half people say Corbett. So I don't know. I need to listen to him
I've
actually
always
say it.
heard Corbet, but I've never heard Brady say it, so I don't know.
Mona Fastbold. We have A Real Pain from Jesse Eisenberg. September 5 from Moritz Binder and Tim Fellbaum. And then The Substance from Caroline Farget. So, who we got?
For me, this comes down to Nora and A Real Pain.
Mhm.
Again, I don't think it's close. I haven't seen September 5, so I just have to abstain from that one. I think The Brutalist is a good screenplay, but the screenplay is not what makes that movie good. It's other aspects of the movie that make that movie great. And Coralie Faju is delivering really great commentary here with the themes of this movie, but I don't know how immaculate the screenplay is and like the written dialogue. And
Mm.
you know, obviously the screenplay is more than just dialogue, but still, for me, it comes down to a real pain in Anora. And again, this might be like one of the other categories I mentioned earlier, where if you ask me the same question in an hour or tomorrow or a week from now, I'm going to give you a different answer. For now, I would say a real pain and give it to Jesse Eisenberg. I think some of the conversations that were crafted in this film, especially in like kind of some of those group sessions where they're analyzing different characterizations and personality traits and things of that nature. And then we also see explosive reactions from our two leads. I think of Kieran Culkin at the graveyard and stuff like that. Or I think of Jesse Eisenberg at the dinner table after Kieran Culkin walks away. And they get these very real, raw moments, and so much of that is attributed to the screenplay. And I think that's a big part of what makes that film sing. So I'm going to give it to a real pain. You ask me tomorrow, it might be a Nora, but for now, it's a real pain.
Tonight, for me, it is Anora. But I do think it comes down to those two films for
Yeah.
sure. And I think it would be a wonderful moment seeing Jesse Eisenberg going up there and winning an Oscar for this. This is actually one of my favorite speeches to hear from people too, because and there's a lot of people that it's like unexpected, like Jordan Peele going up there, just being like, "What the hell am I doing up
Yeah.
here?" Um, not gonna lie, Taika Waititi kind of acted like a dick when he went up there and got his, but he is kind of a dick. So
Yeah.
there it is. Um, I think Honor is impeccably written from start to
Yes.
finish, and it's just so much great dialogue in this, and also like the story structure and everything. What Sean Baker tricking us into thinking we're getting a new age Pretty Woman
Yeah.
and then giving us a new age After Hours.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, just kidding. Really well done. Now we're
I
up to
I
okay.
would want to suggest that Mike Lee should have been here for Hard Truths, I think. And you can even make an argument. And again, I think this comes down to someone backed the wrong film they made that year. Challengers could have been here. And
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name now. The director. What's the director?
Luca Guadagnino.
Luca Guadagnino. If he hadn't, he went so hard backing Queer at the end of the year and as his like pick of his two films. It reminded me a lot of Ridley Scott, honestly, the year The Last Duel came out and he backed House of Gucci. And I'm just like, dude, did you not see your own movies? Like, clearly The Last Duel was the better movie. And if you had backed that and put campaign money behind that, you probably could have gotten a lot more acclaim than you ever got for House of Gucci. And I feel the same way here, where like he backed Queer and wanted to get Daniel Craig that nomination, but man, just back challengers and you're so much more successful. But
Uh Queer was an interesting film for sure. For sure. Interesting for sure. Now we got up to our acting awards here. So we have Best Supporting Actress, Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabel Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. Who do you got, Heath?
um this actually isn't close for me. This is Ariana Grande, and I think it's by a landslide margin. The only one that is close actually for me is, and again, that's after the landslide margin, in second place would be Isabella Rossellini. I actually think she's really impactful, even though she only has like 5 minutes of screen time, if that, but
He
she's so
shows up in
impactful.
that sausage party and
Yeah.
really makes
She's
an impact.
very impactful in that film, and she does her role incredibly well. I think she's great. But Ariana Grande is exuding so much enthusiasm and naivete and energy in such a melding and complex way that I really don't think many people could pull this off. Her comedic timing and chops here are impeccable. She is hilarious. And this is a comedic role, and I have always been a long-standing advocate of the Academy does not award genre very well.
Mhm.
That may be horror, that may be action, it may be comedy, and in this case, comedy. It'd just be great to see a comedic performance win an acting Oscar because it happens like once a decade, maybe if that, and she's great here. And it's not even just the comedy stuff. She's also an amazing singer, and she sang all of these songs live on set, and she freaking knocks it out of the park. And when it does come to the dramatic moments, I think of like the Ozdas ballroom when they start dancing together. She's incredible, and she exudes all the right emotions to get the max out of that scene so that the audience is just pouring out empathy and understanding everything that's at stake. And that's all attributable to Ariana and how she reacts and how she handles these moments. I think she's tremendous.
I just want to do a quick shout out to Monica Barbero because I loved
Yeah,
her in A Complete Unknown. She's
she's
probably
great.
my second, but it's also Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
Because like nothing against the rest of these performances, but like what Ariana Grande does is so much more interesting and bold and dynamic than a lot of these performances. And like I love Zoe Saldana, and it makes me really happy she's finally getting some like awards recognition after, you know, hiding behind like globs of either makeup or CGI for years in a lot
She's
of these like
been
big.
either blue or green for the better part of 15 years now,
Yeah.
honestly.
And but like Amelia Paris is not it.
No,
And honestly, I wanted to get shut out. I
I
wanted to
do.
get shut out,
I
but it's
genuinely
not
do.
going to.
If
Ah,
it won't because it's taking home a song at bare
yeah.
minimum, and it's probably taking home this as well. If it was to take one home, this is the one I would be
Mhm.
not happy with, but like tolerable. I would accept it, if Zoe got this. But yeah, I'm kind of with you where I'm just like, no, if it got completely stonewalled and went over 13, oh my God, that would just make me so happy.
I will be well, I know we'll have be probably having I don't know if we'll have a Slack chat. I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
But I will certainly be popping in there being like every time it loses one,
Oh yeah.
check one off.
Yep.
But best supporting actor, this is a really interesting category. So we have Yura Borisov for Honora, Kieran Culkin for Real Pain, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice. I just want to throw out here, I think four of these were a lock for nominations, and like that fifth one was going to be the interesting one. I would have loved in a crazy mad world for Chris Hemsworth to have been nominated for Furiosa. Just, throwing that out there. But Heath, who do you have for this one?
I have Clarence Divine Eye Macklin from Sing Sing. Uh, that's mine that I think actually should be here. It blows my
Yes,
mind that he's not. He's my second favorite performance of the year. We'll get to my favorite here very shortly. Of these nominees, I do think this is actually one of the better categories of the year. I think this is very competitive. I think these are all strong contenders. While these aren't the five I would have, I'm completely content and fine with these being the five. With that said, it's Kieran Culkin, and it's not close for me. I think he is just immaculate in a real pain, understanding pain and tragedy while understanding humor and levity in a way that few people do. He just comes across as so real and sincere. And because of that, it's so relatable. Even if you've not been through his experiences, you empathize, you see where he's coming from, and it just transforms the film as a whole and makes for such a unique and distinct viewing experience. My second place of this group would probably be Yura Borisov. I think he adds a
I love him
softness.
so much.
He's so good. He adds a softness to Honora that really brings the heart and themes of the film home, especially when you do get to that final scene in the car. It's Mikey Madison that breaks down, but that's only possible because of what Yura is doing. So he would be my second place, but I'm definitely giving it to Kieran. He is transcendently good in this film.
I'd like to give Yura Borisov the award for best use of a prop. With that bat. Just like the little
Yeah.
choices he makes with it in
Yep.
like a short period of time. But no, Kieran Culkin's the one that I'm going with from this group too. It's just I don't like I wonder how strong a real pain would have been if it were somebody else playing that character because he gave that kind of performance that just he's that kind of person in the film too
Yeah.
where it just takes in all the air out of the room and he's just so incredible in this. The battle of succession between him and Jeremy Strong. That was some unexpected love for The Apprentice when they
Yeah.
announced these nominees. But like Jeremy Strong's great, and God, I watched a Roy
I was
Cohn
pulling for him. I
documentary.
was happy when he got it.
Yeah, but and like I think Guy Pearce. I'm so happy that he got a role that he got some recognition like this because
Yeah.
like it's been a long time
Hmm.
since he's gotten any kind
It's
of like
it's been
real
a minute.
attention like that. Yeah. But no, Kieran Culkin for this one. Best actress. So we have Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez, Mikey Madsen for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. Who you got, Heath?
Well, since Marianne Jean Baptiste is not on the menu, I absolutely 100% have Mikey Madsen. I am in love with everything she's doing here. She is vulgar and crass in the best way possible. So funny, so entertaining. I am riveted by everything she's doing, whether it's a line of dialogue or a snide like physical conjecture and like the way she holds her body language, the way she confronts people. It just it feels so authentic and
Mm.
real. I deeply envision this Annie character. I can see her in the real world. I can see 10 years past of where she came from to get to where she is today, and I can see 10 years in the future as to where she's going because she's so fully realized by Mikey's performance, and it's just damn impressive. For me, other contenders would be Demi Moore or Fernanda Torres. They're both exquisite in
Mm.
their own ways, and especially when those films are asking two very different things. But for me, I have to go Mikey.
I'm also going Mikey Madison because I think it even reinforces seeing her in real life and realizing how much of a character she created.
Yeah,
Like she's so soft spoken and like and in real life, and then you see her in this film. It's so incredible. There's so many layers to this character too, and she sells the hell out of that last scene. That last scene just
it's
hits on
everything.
su- hits on such a deep level and really ties that film together.
Yep.
But no, I would be happy to see Demi Moore
Yeah.
get the
Oh yeah,
Oscar for the
absolutely.
substance for sure.
I'd be happy with
Um,
Torres winning. I'd be happy with Cynthia. I'd literally be happy with anyone winning except for Carla. Honestly. Now there are layers to who I would prefer to win, but like
yeah.
I'd be happy for all four of those women.
Now we have Best Actor: Adrian Brody, The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet, or as Adam Sandler would say, Timothée Chalamet. A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice, and
Yeah,
not a different man.
I thought it was going to be a different man going into it. I was floored, but I'm fine with it. It's fun.
Mm. I have a sinking feeling I know who you're going to pick for this. So
Yeah,
go,
you
Heath.
do. It's Coleman. Sing Sing is my favorite film of the year. Coleman is my favorite performance of the year. He is just it's almost mind-boggling how he just film after film keeps re-solidifying, oh, I'm just one of the best talents in the industry today, and most people don't even see my works, and most people don't even know my name, and I still don't get awarded. um, and he's not going to win for this. And it's bullshit. I have no other way to say it. It's ridiculous to me. And that's not meant as a slight to Adrian Brody. Adrian Brody is fantastic in The Brutalist.
Mhm.
Timothy Chalamet is fantastic in Dune Part 2. And he's great in The Complete Unknown as well. Don't get me wrong. I just there's category fraud, and now we also have movie fraud. He's nominated for the wrong film. Um, but Coleman is doing something else here that is so powerful to me. When he gets his papers and he lifts up the package and it's so thick and heavy, and you can just feel and see like his soul leaving his body just because of how he's reacting due to body language alone and nothing else. And there's like less than 1% of actors in Hollywood that can do what he's doing. It's moving, it's profound, it's important. And I could not sing enough praises. I think Coleman Domingo is giving everything in Sing Sing, and I wish he could get awarded. And so in this little episode that we're doing here today, he gets awarded, although in a week and a half he probably won't be, and it breaks my heart.
Well, he's getting two tonight.
F yeah.
Because when I saw Sing Sing way back, whenever that was at the end of the summer,
Yeah, I saw it in
when I
like
got it.
June, and I was trying to like everyone needs to see this movie, and no one went out and saw it, and it broke my heart.
Well, A24 did a great job
Yeah,
of, making sure
yeah,
that it was accessible to people. The second I watched that movie, I'm like, he is a king. He is a mountain of a performer and just brought so much to this film. It was incredible. And a little piece of me would be like, Ray Fiennes winning would be such a nice thing, but I don't want to see another. Well, I have some feelings about this that I don't think a lot of people did, but it would be very strange watching an aging British man swooping in there and taking an award from a very talented, incredible performance of a black man. Just like, a couple years ago when Chadwick Boseman didn't win.
yeah.
But this time that's not going to go on last.
Oh
But no, it's
God, that
definitely
was
going to
so
be.
awkward.
And then they had the worst person in the world to present it, the most awkward person in the world,
Yep.
Joaquin Phoenix. Um, but no, Adrian Brody's winning this, but Coleman Domingo should be winning this. And that's an easy one for me. Like I think he deserves that by far out of all of them. Best director. They could have made some better choices here, but we're
Yeah,
gonna get to
right.
that in a minute. Sean Baker for Honora, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, and Carolee Farge for The Substance. Um, what the hell is Audiard here? This makes
Where's
absolutely
Denis
no.
Villeneuve? Yeah, I'm gonna echo Dan Murrell here and just say, do they think these movies make themselves? Like the Dune movies are some of the biggest, most expansive in terms of scope
Mhm.
films that have been produced in decades, maybe since The Lord of the Rings and what Peter Jackson did in the early 2000s.
And just like how they screwed over him, they're gonna wait until the
And I'm
last one
just
to come
like,
out.
what are we doing here? And it rings so false and
Mhm.
and unserious. And this is the biggest reason, as a side note, but it's related, as to why I want Amelia Perez to suffer and get shut out so badly. Because the Academy Awards and the Oscars, as much as I love them, as much as you love them, on the whole, with movie-going audiences and the general public, has a very fragile reputation
Yes.
because of shit like this, and
Yep.
people don't respect it, and they're like, "Come on, what are you doing?" Like you come across pretentious, and there's a reason for it. It's self-inflicted wounds, and when you do stuff like this, it hurts your credibility even more. And that's a big reason why I want Amelia Perez to get shut out, because that at least has a chance of restoring some faith. But if like Amelia Perez still walks out of here with like 5 Oscars, even if it doesn't take home Best Picture, people are going to be ticked,
Yeah.
and let alone if it wins Best Picture. Oh my God. Like it would be Crash, but on a whole nother level. And it would almost irreversibly damage the Oscars credibility, the Academy's credibility for a decade plus to come. And I just don't want to see that happen. But when I look at this Best Director lineup, I'm like, why? What are we doing here? James Mangold is a good director. I don't James Mangold's work is not what makes A Complete Unknown exceptional. I think he does a decent job, but compared to some of the other options like Denis Villeneuve, what are we doing? Jacques Audiard should not be here. Period. End of discussion. Should not be here. Brady Corbet, I'm fine with. Sean Baker, absolutely. Coralie Faju, also fine. But like, I if you take out James Mangold and Jacques Audiard and you swap in Denis Villeneuve and Robert Eggers, holy crap, this category is instantly like 5,000% better and stronger. And it just blows my mind. All that to say, Sean Baker is my winner.
Yes. I'm
And I
also
don't
going with Sean Baker at
and
this
I don't
point
think
too.
it's close based off of these options.
Honestly, Sean Baker was the only one that made my 5 nominees for my awards show, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I just, yeah, Sean Baker. And it would be wild if he sweeps his nominations for this. And I'm really hoping that he does. Like, I want to
If he
see that
walks away
happen.
with 4 Oscars, oh, that'd just be the coolest thing.
Because, like, they're looking at this, I think he has a really strong chance of getting the writing and the editing.
Yes,
And at this point, I think a really strong shot at Best Picture. I think he might split the director, though. And I think Corbet might walk away with that.
very
I'd
possible.
rather see Farjay walk away with that because, God, The Substance is such an interesting movie. Well, we made it. We made it to the end.
We
We have
did.
Adora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. What do you got, Heath?
Anora, baby. Absolutely Anora. Anora was my second favorite film of the year. As I've already said several times, Sing Sing was my first. That's not an option. A24, suck it. I'm mad at you. But because that's not an option, man, it's pretty cool to have my number 2 film of the year as an option. And I think Anora is fantastic. Frankly, my number 2, 3, and 4 film of the year are all here, which are Anora, Dune Part 2, and Wicked. So that was really cool. I just hate that we also have to pair it with Amelia Perez. It's just so bad.
I don't even know how far down Amelia Perez is on my enormous list from last year, but I have 3 out of my top 5 on here, 4
Nice.
out of my top 6 are on here. And I think you already alluded to this earlier. I'm going with A Complete Unknown,
Yeah.
which is like the only one that only award this one. Me picking. Um, it's gonna do a Grand Hotel and
Yeah.
just be like, sweep on in there. I There's something about this film that struck me so deeply when I went to go see the press screening for this. And honestly, it was one of those moments where it's like I started seeing everybody else's reviews coming in on Letterbox, and I was a little dumbfounded about it. And you know what? At this point, all I can say is I love the experience that I had with this film. And there's something so subtle and nuanced about the little details of this film. And I think that's where all the special of this film really lies, is in the little details. And it all comes down to, in that case, it comes down to how the director put this all together and the actors and the little choices they all made in this. And I was locked in from start to finish. I think this cast is absolutely incredible from top to bottom. Even like somebody like Boyd Holbrook made me want
Yeah.
to see a whole Johnny Cash movie with him in it. It's like James Mangold does Johnny Cash Part Two, and I just and I think James Mangold directs like nobody else directs today because he feels like he's a director from a bygone era of
Yes.
film. And whether it's Logan or I love 4v Ferrari,
I do
that
too.
film is so great. And I thought there was something really special that Timothy Chalamet did with this performance. It's all in like the quiet moments too, and his body language and stuff like that. And just this film is special. And you know what's crazy? When I saw the Hollywood Reporter release their like rankings after all these controversies, they had a complete unknown as the front runner for Best Picture. And I'm
So,
like, I don't know. That would be like the safest pick for them to be able to
but
pick to win Best
again,
Picture.
I've had this conversation with friends, and I think it's worth bringing up in case people watching this aren't aware. The Academy Awards for all categories work voting wise the way you would figure, except for Best Picture. It is
Mhm.
ranked choice voting.
Yep.
And in a year that is so contentious, you can have really funky things happen. An example would be 2018 with a little film called Green Book, where Green Book was not really anyone's pick to win, but it was kind of seen as the least objectionable because you had a lot of people writing hard for Black Panther, but then a lot of people didn't want to award Black Panther because it's just a stupid comic book movie. And then you had people writing hard for Roma, but then there's some people like, oh, this is just really pretentious and we don't want this. And then you had people writing hard for Black Klansmen. And then you had racists being like, no, we're not going to give Spike Lee that much. We'll just give him the screenplay.
We
And
can't
like,
award in the heat of the night. We have to award
yeah,
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
exactly. So like all these things happen and you end up with Green Book winning. And it pissed a lot of people off. And I'm even on the record of I don't think Green Book's a bad movie. I actually think Green Book is a good movie. It's just not as good as some of the other movies that year. And
Yeah.
it pissed people. It's the Saving Private Ryan effect. I don't think Shakespeare in Love is a bad movie, but it sure as shit isn't good as Saving Private Ryan.
Well, we know why that one.
Yeah, we do. Weinstein. Oh, anyway, but it gets to the larger point of because of ranked choice voting and how this all goes out, there is a world, and especially when a year so contentious as this, where there's still going to be people writing hard from Amelia Perez, but that's going to be like number one on people's ballots or like dead last on people's ballots. You're going to have the same thing for like The Brutalist. That's going to be number one on a lot of people's ballots, and a lot of people don't like The Brutalist, and especially after that AI like hit piece that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the AI that they came out with and like what actually happened is really not that objectionable compared to some of the other stuff that people use AI for in their films. It's still hurt its reputation. Like Anora is a film that a lot of people love, but it's also a film that has a lot of vulgarity and sex, and like a lot of like older Academy voters don't like that. Like there is a world where something like Conclave or A Complete Unknown come in as like everyone's second, third, or fourth favorite film, and it's just kind of seen as the safe and least objectionable choice. I absolutely could see a world where A Complete Unknown wins, and I think people will lose their mind. And I
You,
don't think that will be
Heath,
fair.
you
Again, it is.
know, I'm gonna slide into that Slack
Yeah.
chat.
Oh, you're
Just
gonna be
feel like
thrilled. Yeah, but and again, I don't even think it will be fair. I if you know, because there will be people that dog on A Complete Unknown. They're like, how the hell does this win? And again, it won't be A Complete Unknown's fault. It will be the fault of ranked choice voting in a contentious year when no one could make their mind up about all these other films that had people hating it and loving it. So there is a world absolutely where it could walk away with the
can
win.
you imagine a world where that safe pick is Dune?
Oh,
It just like comes
you
out with
still my
Best
beating
Picture.
heart. Oh my God. Don't tempt me with a good time.
That would be wild.
Yeah.
I My jaw will drop if that
Oh,
happens. I think the safe pick at this point is Anora.
I do too.
at this point after what it won three straight.
It won
Uh,
the DGA, the PGA, and the Writers Guild. I mean, it's
what won the BAFTA?
the
Was it Conclave?
Conclave. Yeah,
Of course.
of course. British film.
Because it's just like, well, they are British. Ray
Yep.
Fiennes is indeed in this movie, but somehow
Yes.
Ray Fiennes didn't win. But I
Yep.
wonder how he felt. Just like, this was my chance. I'm British. Why
I
didn't
think
you
he's
give
won a
me my?
BAFTA before though. It's
Well,
the Oscar that he doesn't have.
he won. Didn't he win Best Supporting Actor?
No, Ray's never won.
Who did he lose to?
He lost Schindler's List year, if that's what you're thinking. He
Yeah.
lost that.
Do you
I can look
recall
it up.
who he lost to?
I'm on it.
Because obviously the year after that was quite the year when Samuel L. Jackson lost to um Martin Landau,
Yeah.
which he still has not gotten over, and most people haven't either.
Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive.
Oh well, I'm not gonna argue because
Yeah,
I love
that year was Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive, DiCaprio for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Ray for Schindler's List, Malkovich for In the Line of Fire, and Pete Postlethwaite for In the Name of the Father.
In the Name of the Father.
Yep.
That is such an interesting year that both In the Line of Fire and The Fugitive got Best Supporting Actor nominations.
Action thrillers, man. The 90s were great. What are we doing? Let's why can't we have fun like this anymore?
The Fugitive would never get nominated today,
Oh,
and that just makes me sad. That's such
The
a
Fugitive
damn good
would get
movie.
nothing. The Fugitive would be a Netflix release that most people ignored.
Oh,
and
God.
like you'd have to like watch it and like try to convince people, no, it's one of the good Netflix films, I swear, please go watch it.
Don't say that. That makes me sad. But
because it's true. There's truth to it, so it hurts.
Well, Heath, as always, this is an interesting time going through the Oscars, and it'll be interesting to see what actually happens at the Oscars. But thank you, as always, for coming on and chatting movies with me.
Yeah, no problem. Again, excuse me. Thank you for having me. And hashtag so long as it's not Amelia Perez.
Hashtag not Amelia Perez. Whoever wins Best Picture, give it to Nickel Boys. I don't care.
Anything but Amelia Perez, and we're fine. Honestly,
we're fine. But most importantly, thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.